Hey guys, driving it home with the professor in a little bit of rain. Some people are amazed that I could do these videos while driving. So I try not to look at the camera very much if I can help it, and keep my eyes on the road and just talk. Otherwise I'd be listening to the radio. Anyway, one of my friends, Professor Tim Carpenter, and crew Eric Carter, have a student by the name of Joe. I'm sorry if I butcher your last name. I want to say Dubyk. And he had posted a question in regards to wanting to know what it's like to run a mixed martial arts or martial arts academy. And I'm going to assume he's a small business owner himself. I believe him to be a roofer. I know he's in the construction business, so he understands what it's like to be in business and all this other stuff. So how did I wind up owning my school? Well, originally the school was named Joe Prioli's Champion Martial Arts, and it was in the same town I'm in now, Maple Shade, New Jersey. I was working a job that I was not very happy with at all, and my friend Joe had asked me, he's like, hey man, would you like to come, teach some martial arts and learn the martial arts business, and then eventually open up a second school with him and kind of go from there. And I was like, yeah man, this is better than working in this office setting and being a business systems analyst at the time for Independence Blue Cross. And I'll be honest, unlike Matt Santini, my parents were not very happy about my decision to leave the corporate world of a stable job and go to work basically playing in what they were to consider my pajamas. They didn't realize how passionate I was about it, and they're immigrants, and they kind of don't, their thing is, put a 40-hour week in, and all this other stuff, get paid, you work for a living wage, you get paid a living wage, and that kind of thing. Anyway, I went to work for Joe with the plans on, opening up a second school as his business partner. Unfortunately, during this time, at a time, Joe had contracted non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he, struggled with that and wound up passing away. The school had gone through a little bit of adversity on who had owned it. There was some kind of ownership changes, and I was working for the woman who had purchased the school from Joe's family, and I got to a point where it wasn't really kind of like, man, I was, just working and running the school and having kind of the duties of an owner, but still getting paid like an employee and not getting the the benefits of ownership. So kind of expressed these things. I received a great bit of advice from my instructor's father. It was just like one of those things that he just happened to stop in one day, and I was like, I'm gonna confront her, and I'm gonna make her sell me the school and this and that. And this is Phil Miglary Senior, and he says, Marco, he said, what's wrong with you? He's like, that's the South Philly Italian in you, relax. Because he was, he's passed away, a great guy, but he's a South Philly Italian guy, so he kind of got where I was coming from, and he understood why I would get so kind of angry at first. Anyway, he's like, man, be smarter than that. Kind of approach her better. That you don't want to make her think that you're forcing her into this. This is a business transaction. Make it as such. And it was a great piece of advice from him. Now, I also received some really good advice from my instructor, Phil Miglary, because I was going to take a business partner on, and he said, look, man, don't take a business partner when you're starting this school, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And he saw something coming down the pipeline, and he just didn't think it was a good fit with this particular person. I disagreed. I took the business partner anyway. We were partnered for a while up until a certain point where we liquidated the partnership, not on the best of terms, unfortunately, but I was able to buy my business partner out and own New Jersey Martial Arts on my own. So that's kind of like the history. At one point, we currently have 2 locations where I have a business partner with I'm a business partner with one of my students in a second New Jersey Martial Arts, and he's got you know, he's running a fine school there. Sorry, I got to keep adjusting it. The arm's a little weak. I guess I got to tighten the bolt down. Anyway, so that's kind of the genesis of where we're at now. So we have a location in Maple Shade, location in Delran. So I've gotten some really good advice from my instructor and my instructor's original instructor, his dad. I should have listened to them both, but I listened to one. It was still really good advice. Eventually, I listened to my instructor and bought my business partner out. Anyway, having said that, some of the things that I've learned about, you know, being a, you know, like one of the biggest things that I've learned about being a martial arts school owner is that, I'm not going to hurt some feelings with this, but professional fighters are almost like the worst people in the world. Because I don't know if anybody's ever owned thoroughbred horses, but a professional fighter, for the most part, with the exception of a couple, and I would say the Tims, Tim Williams and Tim Carpenter, you know, like with the exception of those two guys, it's always been really an exercise in, you know, soothing and caressing and kind of having to build up a guy who's, Jesus God, tough as hell, but unbelievably mentally weak, you know, which were for some of those guys. So what I'm saying is, you're, as a school owner, unless you're an American Top Team or Henzo Gracie, don't really believe that your bread and butter kind of moneymaker is going to be professional fighters. You know where you make your money is off the regular guy, right? And I'm not saying that to kind of make it like, oh yeah, we want to bring in all the regular guys, we don't care about fighting and all this other stuff. Because like at the end of the day, the regular guy's into it way more to the most part than the professional fighter. He's way easier to deal with. He's a much better student, you know. So from that standpoint, the non-professional fighter is a way easier person to deal with than the professional fighter. Most, you know, small to mid-level schools. I gotta pay a toll here. Here you go. All right, have a good night. All right. Most small to mid-level schools aren't going to be making a ton of money on fighters, you know, with the purses that even Bellator, you look at the latest Bellator payouts, like the low-level guys are getting paid $1,500. So if a pro fighter doesn't want to pay his monthly dues and then wants to give you a piece of his purse, how much are you going to make? 150 bucks? Been training him for 2 years? It's not always about the money, but you know, the local electric company doesn't want to hear that you just had a pro fighter win the Ultimate Fighter TV show, or he's Ring of Combat champion or whatever. They want to get paid. So, you know, most martial arts academies are going to make their money from a business standpoint off the regular guy that wants to kind of get in shape, wants to lose weight, wants to learn martial arts. I think that's probably the biggest lesson that I learned, is that focusing on fighters, I was going to have a short business life. Focusing on my students, the bread and butter, the regular guy, the guy that's got a 9-to-5, where this is really something that's bettering his life, making his family life better, making him a better person. Ultimately, I think that's the real student that I want. Now, if that guy happens to want to fight, I'll fully support him. I'll be in his corner. I'll do my best to corner him at his fights, or if I can't be there, one of the other coaches or instructors will be there. So, Joe, one of the biggest lessons that I learned is you can't focus on the thoroughbreds. You need to focus on everybody else, and that's how you build a strong school. And then from your army, you kind of can get your special forces unit, I guess, you know, of guys that might be pro fighters and that kind of thing. So, Joe, I hope that answers your question. Driving it home with the professor. We will call this the not so safe edition because my mount wasn't working so well. So please keep the questions coming and driving it home. All right, take care.